Hey there, Husky Pups, and welcome back to week 7, day 2 of our math review in fractions. So I'm going to start us off today with our problem of the day, but just to give you a heads up, we are going to be looking at reviewing fractions on a number line. Yes, friends, I said it, on a number line. Don't let it scare you. So you should have done your skip count video today for review, and the materials you're going to need to pause and go get is something to write with and something to write on. So it can be a whiteboard, it can be a piece of paper, it can be markers, crayons, colored pencils, pencils. I prefer pencil because I can erase, because I'm not perfect and I sometimes make mistakes, and that's okay. Go ahead and pause me. All right, so hopefully you're back with me. We are going to look at how are we solving this problem today. We're going to get ripped again today. We're going to read the problem, identify the important information, plan how to solve that problem, picture it, execute your plan, actually solving that problem. And does it make sense? Check your work, super important. So let's get started. What do we have today? What fraction of the dogs have spots? Okay, well, let's take a look at our dogs. They're kind of cute. Hi, Spot. All right, get ripped up there at the top. We've read our question. We've looked at our picture that came along with it. So we have we can cross that off. We need to go back and identify what's the important information. What are we asked to find? So we're asked to find a fraction. That has me thinking, how do I write fractions? What are we writing a fraction of? The dogs that have spots. Oh, okay. So now I've identified my important information. Create a plan. Well, just a second ago, I said something about, well, when I think about a fraction, I know if I'm writing a fraction, it's parts over whole. I need to have that fraction bar. So I'm going to put that over there in the corner. And I think I have my plan now. Let's go ahead and execute it. So if I'm thinking to myself, part over whole, remember the denominator is the whole, or the whole amount in this case of dogs. So how many dogs do you see? Well, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 little puppies that are super cute. So in my denominator, I would have 7 written there. And I'm asked to find or locate how many of the total number have spots. Well, if I look for my little spotted friends, I'm looking at the brown and white ones with the blue eyes. So I'm looking at 1, 2, and 3. So I would have my 3 in my numerator or on top. So I have now executed it. And I need to go back. Does it make sense, friends? Fraction of the dogs have spots. So I'm looking for the dogs that have spots. I see spot, spot, spot. I see 3 puppies with spots, and I have a total of 7. So how would I read that fraction? I would read it as 3/7 of the dogs have spots. And that seems to make sense to me, friends. So we have officially checked our work. We're going to leave that. I talked to you a minute ago about going and identifying fractions on a number line, and that's what Miss Morgan is going to review with you today. So keep that pencil and paper or whatever you have handy. You're going to need it here in a minute or so. Let's take a little review of what are fractions. Well, before we start even reviewing that, let's take a look at our very first. Where you draw it, where do you think 2/3 is located on this number line? Well, 2/3. So part over whole, and I see that my number line starts at 0 and it goes all the way to 1. Well, I know 1 is also considered the whole, or 3/3. So my numerator is telling me how many parts I need to have labeled. So if I'm breaking this into 3/3, because that 1 whole would be my 3/3 mark, I would come right over here. Let me grab this. I'm going to go ahead and mark 1 whole as 3/3 so I can remember that. Now I need to make this section. I need to take this section in between and I need to make 3 equal spaces. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it, so I'm going to do the best I can with it. I know that when I'm doing thirds, I'm never really, neither one of my tick marks are ever in the exact center. It's kind of off center for either one. So if I'm counting this, this would be my 1/3. And this would be my 2/3, because I've counted 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces. So my 2/3 mark. Let's see how I did. Well, if we're going to review real quick, the numerator is how many parts of the whole we are talking about. Did I label that correctly on that number line for the previous slide? The denominator is the total parts of the whole. So we talked about that whole and how it can be represented as 1 or 3/3, 3/3. So we've talked about both ways that that can be written. It's important to remember that, especially with number lines. Oftentimes you're going to see number lines that are labeled 0, 1, 2, and so on. So you have to know that 3/3 is the same as saying 1 whole. So the denominator tells us how many equal parts to break the unit into. And he's telling us over here, break the unit into 3 equal parts. Okay, did we break our fraction units on the number line into 3 equal parts? We did. Looking good so far, friends. The numerator, each part is 1/3 of the whole. Did we talk about each section or each space being 1/3? So this is 1/3 plus 1/3, that gives me that 2/3, and plus 1 more third, it's that 3/3 or 1 whole. So the 2 in the numerator is telling me that I'm the second of the 3 parts. So we would be looking at 1/3 plus 1/3 gives us that 2/3 label. How did you do? I think we did pretty good, friends. It's your turn now. So I'm going to ask you, where do you think 3/4 is located on this number line? Take a look at your number line. It's the exact same that we just did, but now instead of breaking it into thirds, we're breaking the number line into 4, count it, 4 equal parts, because that's what the denominator tells us. So pause the video and draw this number line right now. Do it with me. I'll wait. Make sure you pause it. All right, friends, so hopefully you have gone ahead and drawn that number line. And like I said before, we are breaking our number line into 4 equal parts, because that's what the denominator tells us to do. Okay, so let me get my 4 equal parts. And remember, we're just kind of eyeballing it, so it's the best you can. I'm not asking you to draw it out perfect with a ruler and measure each part to make sure it's equal. So now we need to count the spaces to label our fractional pieces. So if we count our spaces, 1/4 is right here. So I'm going to label that 1/4. The next space is 1 more 4th, or 2. I'm adding it, 2/4, plus 1 more 4th, which would give me that 3/4. How did we do? So let's try another. Where do you think 4/8 is located on a number line? So again, you're going to pause my video. Create the exact same number line. 0 to 1 are your tick marks. Only this time you have to break that space into how many equal parts? The denominator tells us we need 8 equal parts. Okay? Pause me. All right, welcome back. And you have hopefully created your number line. You have it broken into 8 equal parts because that's what the denominator tells us to do, right? I'm going to do my best to break it into 8 equal parts. Okay, and the numerator, he's telling us how many spaces we count over. And how many spaces are we counting over? 4 spaces. So this would be my first space, or 1/8. My second space, 1 more eighth, or 2/8. There we go. Plus 1 more eighth would be 3/8. Plus 1 more space would be 4/8. Do I need to keep going? I'm looking for 4/8. I've counted 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, and I have it labeled 4/8. So just a little note, something that we need to be careful of. I've talked each time that I have labeled each number line that you're counting the spaces between the tick marks when you're labeling your fractions. Count the spaces to label it, because if you count the tick marks, oftentimes, friends, people want to count and start here. Well, this is not 1/4. This is actually 0. 1/4 isn't until we count that first space. So I would go from 0 to here. This is 1/4. Plus 1/4 would be 2/4. Plus 1 more fourth would be 3/4. Plus 1 more fourth would be our 4/4, or 1/2. So remember, you're looking and listening for that special word of the day, so to say. So today's word of the day is ba-da-bum-bum, pineapple. Today's word of the day is pineapple. And I'm going to wrap things up here, friends, with you. I am going to ask that for your independent practice today, that you create on your own 3 additional number lines. You choose the fractions that you want represented on each number line. So 1 fraction represented on each number line. They each need to be different fractions. So you should wind up with 3 different fractions on a number line. So I would choose maybe 4/7, 3/9, 2/5. These are just examples. You don't have to do them. I want you to make your own number line for each fraction. Represent the fraction. Show you're counting over on your spacing, just like Mrs. Morgan did today. Snap a picture and post it to your Class Dojo page, friends. Until we meet again, I'll see you later. Have a great day.